Good afternoon. The Camden County Board of Elections and Registrations regular board meeting is now called to order. We will begin our opening ceremonies with an invocation, which will be delivered by Vice Chair Dr. Julia McCullough. May you please stand?
Before the invocation, would you please join me in a moment of silence for all families and victims impacted by recent violence, including those affected by the most recent tragedies? Thank you. Heavenly Father, empower each member to listen well, to choose dialogue over division, and to seek solutions that honor all constituents. May we serve selflessly, guided by humility, wisdom, and a desire for just and compassionate governance. In your name we pray, amen.
And if you would, please remain standing as we are led by our Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Vernon Higgins.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you. Before we move on to item B, you may have noticed that we have a new face with us today, and that would be Mr. Vernon Higgins, who is our new board member representing District 2. And Mr. Vernon, on behalf of the board, we would like to welcome you and just let you know that we're glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item B, which is a roll call. When I call your name, if you would please raise your hand and acknowledge that you're here. Robin Maynard Knight, Chair, District 1, here. Mr. Vernon Higgins, Member, District 2.
Here.
Mr. Joseph Stell, Member, District 3.
Here.
Dr. Julia McCullough, Vice Chair, District 4.
Here.
Mr. Ray Holland, Member, District 5.
Present.
All right, please make note that all members are present. Thank you. All right, has everyone had the opportunity to review the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Are there any objections or requests to make any changes? All right. Being there are no objections, the agenda is approved as presented. All right, moving on to item D, approval of minutes for July 18th, 2025 special call meeting. Has everyone had the chance to review our minutes?
I have.
Yes.
All right, are there any questions?
No.
All right, so I need someone to make a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second that the minutes be approved. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposes? No opposes, so the minutes stand approved. All right, moving on to item E, public comments, and this would be for agenda items only. If there are any comments from the public, if you would please come up now. Thank you. Please make sure that you state your name and the district that you reside in, please. Thank you.
Mary Beckman, District 3, and I'd like to make a comment and plea in relationship to the item 2 under in new business. I know that our turnout was really, really low in the PSC special primary and runoff, but please don't take that as an indication that this is not an important election. It's a really important election, and we really need to get people to vote. And I hope that you will give them the opportunity to vote by having at least a few evenings of voting, of early votings for people who work outside the county and have to, fly back from Jacksonville to try to vote. And if possible, please have at least one day of early voting in Woodbine for people who live in the north end of the county. Thank you.
Good afternoon,
Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Terry Keller, and I'm from Woodhaven in Kingston. That's District 5, I think. I'm here in a nonpartisan capacity, committed as you are to fair, accessible elections for all Georgians. I hope you received the election-related emails I sent you a couple of days ago. This November, voters across Georgia, including here in Camden, will be voting for 2 statewide seats on the Public Service Commission. The PSC, as you know, regulates electricity and utilities, and their decisions directly affect our power bills. Normally, only one commissioner is up for election at a time, but because of legal delays, both seats are now on the ballot. As you also know, every voter in Georgia votes for all Public Service Commission seats, regardless of district. That is why it's essential for our citizens to get an expanded opportunity to let their voice be heard. For these important reasons, I'm respectfully asking the board to add at least 2 extra voting days prior to November 4th. More access means more participation, especially in important but often overlooked races such as this. It helps working families, seniors, and those who need flexibility to make their voices heard. Thank you for your time and commitment to fair elections.
Thank you, Ms. Keller, appreciate that.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Board. I'm Dr. Janet Bradford. I live in District 2, and I'd like to just reiterate the comments that have been made with regard to I'd like extended voting hours, and of course, thank you for providing the numbers for the Public Service Commission. I think the majority of Camden County didn't even realize there was an election. So we have to do a better job of making people aware that there is an election and the importance of the decisions that are made by this particular commission. But rather than my asking for additional days, I would ask that you extend the hours, and even if you have to cut a day, so instead of voting on Monday, maybe Tuesday through Friday, but extend the hours to 7 o'clock. Because for those people who do live outside of the county, outside of the county, who work outside of the county, live in Camden and work outside of the county, if you get off work at 5 o'clock, you can't make it to the polls by 5 o'clock. And if you already didn't know there was an election, by the time you find out, and it's just the Public Service Commission, it's like, oh, well, what is that? Well, no, I'm not going to bother. So the importance of that particular election, I think, is additional incentive for you all to consider extending the hours, even at the expense, perhaps, of losing a day, so that people who do work outside of the county will be able to vote in advance. So thank you for your time and hopefully your consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Bradford. Are there any other public comments from the floor? All right, being there are none, we will move on to item F, which is our financial report, which will be coming from Ms. Shannon Nettles for July, August month end report. And Ms. Nettles, if you would, just after which move into item G, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board, and welcome aboard, Mr. Higgins.
Thank you.
We're glad to have him on the board, but that means we lose him as a pool manager in Waverly, which is, he'll be hard to replace. Okay, so you're actually seeing just the ending August 31st budget, obviously, which includes July. I don't have year-end stuff yet from finance, but are there any questions on the items that you saw listed in the financial report? We're under 10% of our budget and 2 months down, so there's no questions. Okay. No questions. I will move on. I should have put this. Let me see. We did that. Okay. This is the, I don't know about y'all, but I can't even see that from here. So it's much better in my book. So I'm going to skip ahead if there's no questions on finance. Okay. So the elections office has been quite busy. We're glad to be here today to have our regular scheduled meeting, where you can notice that we're missing Dennis. Dennis went to Savannah today for something called the Blue Ribbon Committee Group. There's a lot of changes on the docket for next year. And 2026 will require us to transition into a new voting system, not the most ideal time. And we don't have a plan just yet. The state does not. The Blue Ribbon Group is trying to work with election officials to determine the best step forward in new election equipment, a new voting system. Specifically, there's a law right now that requires the removal of the QR code. And the removal of the QR code, you just can't get rid of it. You have to change your equipment if you don't utilize the QR code anymore like we have on our ballots currently. So we sent Dennis to be a voice for Camden and to kind of get an idea of everything that they are speaking about, okay? So that's where he is. He's on his way back right now, so you might see him before the end of the meeting. Let's see. Okay, Tuesday, we were at Camden County High School for National Voter Registration Day. I had help with, Mr. Vernon was there, the Vice Chair Julia McCullough was there. We sit outside like the cafeteria when the students go to lunch. We did have 4 different lunches that we try to encourage students to come over and register to vote. I will happily say that we received 50 voter registrations, which was a great turnout. But our biggest question, I think, was, what are we voting for? So we did educate them a little bit, talk to them about elections, and get their documents that we needed, their telephone numbers, their names, if they had their driver's license on them. We do all paper registrations with the students because they're not supposed to have their cell phones with them at lunch. But we did pretty good, I think, with 50, and great help with the board members. So thank you both. It was fun too. All right, LNA. So obviously we have an election in November. We have logic and accuracy testing that we had scheduled to start, I think initially it was Wednesday. We've been bumping it back because we have to wait for our project to come in from the Secretary of State's office and our ballot builders, and we didn't have our project yet. We received our project yesterday, are not able to access that project until today. Tomorrow, Dennis will get everything ready and prepared to begin logic and accuracy on Monday morning at 9 o'clock. So that's the new final, should be the last day that I'm going to change it. It'll be 9 a.m. Monday morning. So everyone, the public's welcome. There's a note on the door. You all are, of course, welcome. And I think some of you have been before to logic and accuracy. Yesterday, we were in the big city, the blueberry capital of Georgia. Do y'all know where that is? Alma, yeah. Bacon County, we were in Alma yesterday. The Bacon County agreed to host us for a Region 14 meeting. Our close nearby counties right here are all in Region 14. It's Ware, Charlton, Brantley, us, Glenn. There's several of them. We had 11 counties represented yesterday because anybody else that's close gets to come to these meetings as well. And it gives election officials an opportunity to talk about our concerns and discuss different things that are going on in our areas at our county level. So we had a great meeting, went from about 10 to 2, a good lunch, and there were 25 people in attendance. So we were excited for a good day of fellowship and just kind of discussion, open discussion about elections in the state of Georgia. And lastly, what you'll see on the screen that I have for you. So I don't know if you're signed, you can go to the Georgia State Election Board online, and you can sign up for notifications from the State Election Board. The State Election Board meets generally once a month. This meeting in particular is for 2 days. The State Election Board has investigators that will review cases that are heard from various counties. I could self-report someone, or someone could file a complaint against us. It goes to the State Election Board. So you'll see they have here the county's name, and they also have what the infraction was. Some of these cases go back a good long ways, but I wanted to only point this out because I've already had a citizen contact me regarding why Camden County was on the State Election Board, because this is, ideally, you don't ever want to see your name on here, right? So I had a citizen reach out to me to find out why we have a Camden County photograph of ballot case that is on the docket for next week. And I'll explain to you all, just to make sure, as the board, you're aware. Last year, during the city council election in the city of St. Mary's, we had a candidate who had her name on the ballot. I don't know if y'all remember this. It was Miss Christine Adamau. I spoke with her directly, but she did indeed take a photo of her ballot in the voting booth and then put it on social media. So that's against the law. We obviously have signs and everything in place, but I had to self-report that because it, like I said, was all over social media, and my phone was ringing off the hook. You just can't do that. So I self-reported it to the State Election Board. I'm sure they have interviewed her. I sent them a whole case file on the situation, including photos and all of that. So that's what you'll see, why Camden is on the docket, okay? But I put this in your packet that I emailed to you also, because if you look under the very first page, the blue link will get you into the meeting to listen, and it's pretty interesting. It's a little draggy, and it is two days. This one happens to be 2 days. They have a lot of cases to go over. Sometimes it's a hand slap, sometimes it's a fine, sometimes it's we're sending this to the Attorney General's office for them to deal with it. I don't know what'll happen here, but generally in the past, if you've taken a photograph, you just got a hand slap. So we'll see, because it is something that's very serious. You're not allowed to do it. We preach no phones in the polling place. So if you are contacted by a citizen or a voter, this is what that's all about, okay?
Shanna, just in case anybody asks, will a decision be rendered that day, or is it something that she'll be told later, or will you receive the information?
It depends on what they do with her case in particular. So if she just gets a letter of reprimand, which is technically the name for the slap on the hand thing, you'll know right there listening to this event. You can see it live unfold. So we'll know that day if that happens, but if it gets continued on to the AG or something, I've never had one go that far, so I don't know how you get that information or if they send it to you, but yes. Any other questions? Let me make sure I covered all of my items. There's some other issues pending for the 2026 legislative session as well, besides the transition to new voting systems. There's an appeal process for voterless challenges that's being looked into, Saturday voting that's being looked into, State Election Board. These people, this board makes rules, and there's some information about that on the legislative session, because they have in the past made rules very close to an election, and it's kind of messed us up. And they haven't spoken with election officials before they've gone and made these rules. And so that's why with the Blue Ribbon Group, we're trying to become, as an election whole of election officials in the state, trying to become a little more active with the legislators. And then lastly, they're looking at the definition of certification, when we certify an election. So there's some talk about some different things with that. But I think, Ms. Chair, that's all I had for my report. Okay, see where we're at. Okay. Okay, so you can go on to new business. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we're going to item H, new business, and we have two items. The first one is discussion and/or adoption of the proposed bylaw changes. We had a work session where we kind of went over the bylaws, and are there any questions, or does anybody have any discussion on the bylaws, suggestions?
A point of order, being new to the board, haven't had a lot of time to take in the new elections criteria that we'd be utilizing. I was wondering if there's a possibility that we could postpone that possibly to next month, to our next meeting?
Ms. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone the adoption until Mr. Vernon has a chance to review the bylaw changes and the existing bylaws.
I'll second that.
Okay. It has been motioned and second that we postpone the adoption of the proposed bylaw changes for further review, being that we do have a new board member, giving him opportunity to review and have further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposes? No opposes. Okay, so that part will be postponed. Please make note. All right, moving on to item 2, the proposed advance in-person voting schedule for the statewide special election. All right, for discussion, do you all have anything that you like to say from the staff or from the office?
Yes, Chair, if we can have a couple of minutes.
Yes.
Rock and I have a few numbers to go over.
Sure.
So for advanced in-person voting for the November 4th election, staff usually sit down, determine what we feel would be the best opportunities to provide voting to our neighbors, to our voters here in the area, keeping in mind that we always utilize the annex location for early voting for 3 weeks and 2 Saturdays. This election has a holiday in it on the very first Monday of the early voting cycle. So that's why you'll see the dates I provided to you to start Tuesday, October 14th. The state law mandates the number of days that we have to have in early voting, okay, to provide to the voters here in the county. We have to have 3 weeks, and we have to have 2 Saturdays, and the 2 Saturdays have to be at least 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We opted for this schedule of 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. based on the numbers of the voters that came in the last election that we held. Actually, not just the July runoff, but also the June primary and the July runoff. And as you remember, our turnout was considerably low. It was in most of the state except for maybe those larger counties that the PSC commissioners actually are over, or they represent specifically those districts, even though they are for the whole state of Georgia. That's where the biggest turnout was. So we kind of go through what our numbers are to determine, one, an opening and a closing time, and then how many locations we're going to have for early voting. Rock is going to go over some numbers with you all to showcase how many of the North End residents voted with us during early voting, and or kind of like where those voters came from that came to both Woodbine to vote and came to Kingsland at the annex to vote. I think things would be a little different, and we would have presented a different schedule had Woodbine's election not been canceled, and technically it has been canceled. The 2 qualifiers during their qualification week were for sitting members that are already on the council, so there is no need to have an election, and it was canceled for Woodbine. Of course, had Woodbine had an election, we would have our poll open here in the government services complex, okay? We just feel like with the turnout from the previous election and what's expected in this turnout, we're better serving our voters in the annex, because let's not forget, we also have absentee by mail that's available, ballots, no excuse. Anybody can get one of those. They just have to request it, and those applications are open right now to complete and send in. We have early voting. In this particular case, I think it's 5, 10, 15, 16 days of early voting, and that includes the 2 Saturdays, as well as Election Day voting from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I'm going to let Rock go over a few of the numbers, kind of like how we came to our determination on what was best to offer to the voters, and give you just a little bit better understanding of who turned out to vote in the last election. And know that the schedules that we present are thought out by election. They are not like the norm. It's not always going to be the exact thing. We don't feel like we best serve our voters that way. So really dependent on the not popularity of the election, but how involved the community might be in it, how much publication it's getting, advertising it's getting across the state, and what our turnout was in the past is how we go about determining this. So it is different for every election. Next year's going to be a big year, midterms. Of course, we'll have early voting in Woodbine next year for the May election. This is just the proposed schedule, and I'll put it up here when Rock starts talking. This is the proposed schedule that staff decided on for this election. It's at the very bottom of that sheet. Oh, it's one more? Yeah, at the bottom.
Okay, did you want to put this, the schedule? Did you want to put the schedule up so they can follow along with me?
Oh, yeah, they all have the, schedule. I can put it up.
Okay,
My bad.
okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
What you have here is a comparison of the morning and afternoon at both the annex and at Woodbine. The first hour in the morning and the last hour of the day. During the first week of advanced voting, from 8:30 to 9:30, there was a total of 11 voters that first week. 5 of those 11 were poll workers. We had no participation from voters from the north of the county. That afternoon, there were 11 voters from 4 to 5. 4 of them were poll workers, and no participation from the north. The second week, there was a total of 21 voters in the first hour. Of that number, 7 participated at the Woodbine location. 3 of those 7 were poll workers, and all 7 obviously were from the north end of the county. Staying with the Woodbine, in the last hour, there were 14. 2 of them were poll workers. 3 on Wednesday, 11 on Thursday. Of that 11, 10 of them were county employees. And the second week, the total number of voters were 21, 8 of whom were poll workers, and 7 were from the north part of the county. The last hour, there were 29. 2 were poll workers, 14 were from the north, and again, 10 of the 14 were county workers. The last week of early voting, there were 8 in the first hour, 2 were poll workers and 1 from the north. In the last hour, there were 13, and we had no participation from the north. In the mornings, so that represented, the north voters represented 20% of total voters for that early hour. And 26.4 were represented in the last hour during the advanced voting. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Rock, so can you break that down? I'm sorry, I might have missed it. Did you break that down as far as, like, how much foot traffic would be, like, per day? Or have you gotten to that yet?
No, I have not gotten to
Okay,
that yet.
okay. I just want to ask if you would do that, so when you do get to that.
Sure, sure.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Okay. The next item that I'm going through will be for advanced voting. And we look at the precinct, which is Woodbine. May not have that. Okay. For advanced voting, the total registered voters for the Woodbine precinct is 2,015. We had 18 voters for the entire advanced voting period, and on election day, we had 34, which represented 2.8 voters coming through the doors per hour on election day. When you go to Tarboro, advanced voting, there were 9, and they have 1,051 registered voters. And on election day, of the 1,051 voters, 16 came out on election day, which represented 1.3 per hour. Should be in the back. And I apologize for that you all not have it. Okay. And with the Waverly precinct for advanced voting, they have 1,875 registered voters. 17 participated in advanced voting. We had 47 on election day, which represents 3.9 or 4 per hour coming through the polling place. And in comparison, for the July runoff, Woodbine, for advanced voting, had 2 participants. On election day, there were 21, which represented 1.75 voters per hour. Waverly, 11 voters for advanced voting. On election day, there were 10, which represents 0.83 or less than 1 person per hour. Tarboro, 2 participants for advanced voting. Election day, 1 person, which represents 0.08. So out of a 12-hour day, they only worked a few minutes for that 1 person. And when we looked at these numbers, that's how we were able to determine that in the best interests of all Camden County voters and the county commission, we would be best served to go with the hours that we proposed. We also have absentee by mail applications. That's another option that voters have. And for this upcoming November election, the application we started accepting them on August the 18th. And as of today, we've only received 13 requests for absentee by mail ballot.
So did you say 13?
13, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
We also feel that we give our voters plenty of opportunity to vote over the course of those 16 days, with 2 of those being on Saturdays, the opportunity for absentee voting and for election day is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. In addition, I provided you some information on Georgia and Florida employer, what the employers of those working in Georgia and Florida have to do for their employees. And while it's not always paid leave, but you're supposed to get 2 hours of leave to be able to go and vote as well, without repercussions for leaving early. Granted, I know things happen, but overall, our system is built to allow your employees to go out to vote, leave early to go make it to the poll before it closes. It's very disheartening for us to sit in the poll all day with hardly anyone coming through. So we do really try to figure out different ways to go about getting voters there. And it's really hard to see the poll workers also just sitting there or reading a book or whatever they have to do to kind of occupy that. I mean, we might not open until 8:30, but they're there at 7:30. We might not close till 5:30, but it's 6 o'clock before they're out of there. And it's hard to sit there for hours like we did in the July runoff and not see any voters. And when I had the chance and I still had the proper coverage that the law required, I was sending people home just to try to save a little bit there, and they were asking to go home because they were bored to tears. So we've provided also our poll workers some additional activities that they can participate in when there's absolutely nobody in the poll as well. But we really appreciate the hard work that they do. We understand the need to support all of the voters in Camden County, and what you all determine to be our hours, of course, we'll run with that. So right now, the schedule that staff have proposed is 8:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, except for that holiday Monday, 9 to 5 on the 2 Saturdays, October 18th and October 25th. And then, like I said, applications are available now to begin filling out for absentee by mail ballots. So any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What would be the probability, currently you're proposing 8:30 to 5:30, what would be the probability of taking that half hour in the morning and adding it to the evening? I'd rather see almost 90 minutes. Most voters are familiarized with the 7 to 7 election day format. And an election such as this, where it's somewhat surprising, it appears to folks. While we were at the high school, a lot of young folks asked me, there's an election this year? Yes, there is. For what? What's the response? And I would share with them that's for the Public Service Commission. What is a Public Service Commission? So there's a lack of education as far as this special election that's going to take place this November. But I do give thought to our voters, since they, and excuse this term, naive, I would say, concerning this election and the importance of the Public Service Commission. One of the things that I have found out, though, when I ask folks, where do they receive their utilities from, their electric bill? And when they hear the response, I said, well, the Public Service Commission regulates that body. Then I get a sense of alertness, and their ears seem to want to hear what I would impart to them about the Public Service Commission and its responsibilities as far as regulating utilities throughout the state of Georgia. So having said all that, since our folks seem to be locked into 7 to 7 on election day, and those that come to early voting at times will come, I know when I participated in early voting at the annex, folks would come as late as 5 or after 5, believing that the polls would still be open until 7. So I think if there's any possibility that we could extend the later hour, if we could take it off of the front end, add it to the back end, and ideally, I'd like to see, and being a former poll manager and poll worker, as tedious as it is to remain vigilant when there's no voters coming in, I do believe that if we extend those hours to allow folks that work outside the county to be here, available to vote, that would be a great possibility. And it may not impact this election, but what we're doing is setting a precedent for our future elections by establishing a standardized time that we hold accountable for all our elections, particularly our early voting, because once again, we have folks with, everyone's well aware of our voters for the most part, that we are open 7 to 7 on election day. Everyone across America is pretty much in tune to that. So when we have these early voting hours and that change, I imagine, obviously, with the turnout that we receive, that impacts their psyche. Thank you.
So, Mr. Vernon, your suggestion for clarity is to extend it to, instead of 5:30 to 6, is that what you're saying?
Yes, and not even open up until 9,
From 9 to 6.
because right now they're proposing 8:30 a.m. I propose 9 a.m. and the 6 go to 6 p.m.
And that's for the 2 Saturday? Is that,
No, I'm saying for during the week, for early voting.
Okay, that's where we had really low turnout from 5 to 6 o'clock. That's what happened last time. We had it set for either 5 or 5:30, I can't remember, and it ended up being voted on till 6 o'clock. Those are the numbers that Rock went over, or the ending numbers from 5 to 6. I mean, we were lucky if we saw somebody after about 5:17, because they weren't coming in. Not to say it won't happen this time, but I don't think that's where we're losing people, if we are losing people. Do you follow me? I mean, it's not in those last 30 minutes.
And for clarity, just asking, typically, what has been the hours for early voting on any other election? What's the hours? Is it 8:30 to 5? Just trying to recollect.
I think 8 to 5 or 8 to 6. Like I said, I mean, it's very hard to say, okay, our polls are always going to be open from 7:30 a.m. until 6 o'clock p.m. because it really depends on the election. And if you have a poll worker group, okay, now keep in mind, our poll workers don't work in shifts. They are there for the day, they cannot leave, and they are told that during training. If we start doing super long hours during early voting hours, I mean, maybe 9 to 6, but if we did like 7:30 to 6 for a whole week, that would make it extremely difficult for us to find poll workers that are going to be willing to give up that much time to work and for us to schedule. And Leona can probably tell you this better than anyone because she does most of the scheduling for us. That would make it difficult. But overall, I want to say it's somewhere between 8 and 5:30, maybe 8 to 6. We've had a variety of hours, so there's not just one set hours. I think when we did early voting in November, I don't know, they all run together. And I apologize, I don't have that data with me, and I don't want to quote the incorrect time. But yeah, I just wanted to say it does make it a little more difficult when, to get staff, poll workers to actually work at the polls if it's a really long day. And then that last hour was pretty low numbers.
And also, for that election, we also want to look at poll worker safety. We're going to be losing daylight, and when those folks leave after a long day, we want them to be safe. So granted, we do want to provide opportunity for our voters. That's true, but we also have a responsibility to look out for our poll workers, most of whom are more mature, okay, and don't move as fast as they used to. So we want to keep them safe. And also, there's the other option of the absentee ballot by mail. Folks can still request them, and they have until the 24th of October to get those ballots or those applications in to us, and then we can get them the ballot.
Just real quick, we changed the hours for the primary in June. Did you have any feedback from any Camden County voters that they were displeased with those hours and they could not make it?
I did not receive any.
Not that I recall.
No, and I don't remember hearing anything within the office.
Thank you.
Okay.
What are the ways that we advertise the absentee ballots, and is there anything we can do, social media, website pages, anything extra that we can do to let folks know that that's an option too, more than you've already doing?
It is on our website. It goes out in public notices that we put out for early voting. It's in the advertisement that we provide.
In the newspaper?
In the newspaper. And then in addition, I'll generally put something in the Camden Shopper as well because it goes to more homes. So, there's no individualized mailing, and we have a set group. We even personally reached out to voters that had that maybe we had absentee applications for last year, because you have to renew every year. And in this year, because this is a special election, they have to request an absentee ballot for every election. So March was a separate one, June was a separate one, July is a separate one, November is a separate application. So if you've got people that are looking for their ballot and they didn't get it, and they think because they already did an absentee ballot application, they had to request a new one. But we even made personal contacts with, I don't remember, do you remember how many people?
We contact every person on that list, and we receive every application back.
Can you repeat those numbers again, Ms. Leon? Because
It
your
was
mic wasn't on.
24,
And those were 24 that filled out an application in March.
correct.
And didn't realize they had to redo a new one for June. Because we didn't realize they were going to have to do a new one in June until we got confirmation from the Secretary of State's office that had to be done. And that's only the people that we personally reached out to that had March applications. That doesn't count all of the people that called and said, we haven't gotten our ballot yet. And we had to explain the process to, I took somebody's application out to their house in the south side of St. Mary so that they could get it filled out and get it turned in so they'd have a timely absentee ballot turned into them. So we are trying different ways to reach out to people, including some of the civic organizations, and talking to them about the applications and the dates.
Mr. Stella, did you have a question? You started to speak, but you,
No, I just wanted to confirm it was 24 that we had. So do we need a motion to,
Would you put those numbers back up? I mean, the times on the, I think it's the page right before, please. Right there at the bottom.
excuse me.
If you can see it, it's at the very bottom.
In the meantime, excuse me, I'd like to say something. Miss Brenda, is there any way that you can adjust the temperature? I'm trying to hold out, but I am about to freeze. I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I am trembling at the moment. So I've been bearing and trying so hard, but no, but it's freezing here. Okay, that's fine. No, I'm good.
okay.
It's cold. Thank you.
Yeah, so right now we have 8:30 to 5:30 as our scheduled times, 9 to 5 on Saturdays, those 2 Saturdays. And then it does not reference a Woodbine early voting days. Last election, we did 2 days in Woodbine. But yes, I would like a motion and a vote on some kind of time.
All right,
Before we move on.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anyone have any other comments, any questions for the staff? Any more suggestions?
No, but I certainly appreciate the numbers and the presentation. It just, I know the numbers were low in that, and I suspect it's going to be close to the same again this time. So, but thank you for
Yes.
letting us know that.
I agree. Thank you for putting that together and making it where we could understand it. Appreciate that. All right, well,
I would like to make a motion that we adopt the hours as presented. I mean, based on history, what's been done, and plus, economic cost associated with it. I move that we adopt as presented.
A second.
it has been motion and second that we approve the proposed advanced in-person voting schedule for the statewide special election. All right. All in favor, let it be known by, and if you would, please raise your hand. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposes?
Nay.
We have 3, 4, and 1 opposed. So we'll go with the majority. So we will go with the proposed advance stands approved.
Okay, thank you, board, I appreciate it.
So now we will go on to item I, important upcoming dates, and I'll read these, and if you will, follow along with me. State Board election meeting Tuesday, September the 23rd, 2025, at 9 a.m. This will be held in Atlanta. All right. Number 2, the poll worker training Tuesday, September 30th, 2025, times 2 to 5 p.m., and Thursday, October 2nd, 2025, 9 a.m. till noon, and that will be held here in Woodbine.
And you all are all invited to attend either session.
Thank you.
Both of those are being held in Woodbine?
Both of them are held in Woodbine, correct?
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
yes. Oh, thank you for clarifying. Advanced voting Tuesday, October 14th through Friday, October 31st, 2025, and Saturday, October 18th, and the 25th at the Camden County Annex Building in Kingsland. And the times are 8:30 to 5:30 for the Tuesday through Friday, and 9 to 5 on the Saturdays. All right. The Board of Election and Registration meeting will be held, our next one will be on Thursday, October 16th, 2025, 4 p.m., same place here. All right, that ends all of our important dates. We'll move on to item J, excuse me, additional public comments.
Once again, I'm Dr. Janet Bradford, and I live in District 2. And the first thing I want to say is I certainly did not mean to imply that you should do anything that is contrary to the code. Dr. Beckman pointed that out to me, so you can't skip days, and I realize that advanced voting begins on Tuesday, but the other weeks, it includes the Monday. So, and the real reason I wanted to readdress the board is to talk about this PSC election. First of all, it's an anomaly. It was extremely expensive, and the numbers don't support the cost to the counties. And I am not by any stretch of the imagination a conspiracy theorist, but I would bet that Georgia Power wants this election to be held with very little input from the voters, because most people in the state of Georgia don't know that there is a Public Service Commission. And so if you hold the election when people are going to the polls anyway, you would get a lot better turnout than you do when you have this special election. So we're really addressing the symptom rather than the problem. The problem is people don't know, A, what the PSC is, and B, when there is an election. So I would encourage the board to do what else you can to publicize the fact that, yes, there is an election, and I would hope that we don't say, well, the person who represents Camden County isn't up for election. That is correct. It's a 5-person board. They vote as a board, like the 5 of you. And in fact, the person who represents Camden County chairs the board. But the fact that he was not up for election should not be reason for Camden County to not be interested, because when there is an issue for the board to vote on, everybody votes, not just the person who's are being elected for districts 2 and 3. So somehow we have to make Camden County aware that this board composition is important to you, regardless of the fact that Mr. Shaw, who represents Camden County, among other counties, was not up for election. So the real issue is to work with the PSC and to get the election during a regular election as opposed to a special election. When we look at the money that was spent on Dominion, and now we're getting a new system, and the cost to the county of holding these elections when you've got turnout of, it really is, it's indefensible to be paying people. First of all, poll workers aren't getting paid a whole lot of money anyway, but it's their time. They don't do it for the money. It's got to be a commitment and the time. But this is costing the counties, and so I would hope that at some point across the state we would take up the cry, the hue and cry, to make this election part of the normal election cycle rather than doing this in an off year. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bradford. We appreciate that. Are there any more public comments from the floor at this time?
If there's no more public comments before you close out, I just want to make sure you all understand there is a Public Service Commissioner race that will be held in a normal election cycle next year. This one is completely out of where it should be on the calendar. But I believe in May, there's another PSC election. I believe that's the case. I know it's on it's on one of the ballots for 2026, but this delayed election and the special that was held in June is all due to lawsuits that were filed on the two races that were running. I'm not sure if it was just one of the races, but there were lawsuits that were filed, and it went to court, and then it went to another court. So it has been delayed, and that's why we're voting on it in an off year. Believe me, there's a lot of election officials that are not happy with the timing or the placement of this. But in addition, if you remember back in June, we did make a fact sheet. And maybe there's a way we can better spread that out to more. Maybe that's what needs to be in the paper, is the fact sheet that kind of tells more, like Dr. Bradford was speaking of, what are we voting for, what do they do? It has all of that in there, and it's also, it will be on our website as well, and it was back then in June and July, so that people understood. We directed many people to that page, so that they could better understand what the election was about. And so maybe there's another way we could promote that. So that's all. I just wanted to add this. You'll see PSC again next year.
Thank you, Ms. Nettles. Are there any more, anyone else from the floor? Any board members, you have anything to say? All right. Well, I'd just like to thank Ms. Nettles and your staff for all of your hard work and everything that you do every day. As usual, we appreciate you and thank you for everything. All right, if there's nothing else to be said, nothing else to be discussed, we're on to item K, to adjourn our regular board meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and second to adjourn our meeting. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? No opposer? Adjourn. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you.
And I'm not going to yell out.